Yeah. Yes, sir. Next speaker.
Mr. Mayor, I'm Russ Paisano. I live in Turkey Creek, and I'm here to make comments about the noise coming from the GREC. If my eyes are droopy, it's because the last few nights I haven't had much sleep, and that's a fact.
What's your name again? I'm sorry.
Russ Paisano.
Paisano. Okay.
I sent you an email.
Yes.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate being here, and I know there's some other folks here who want to speak too. I have some kind of rhetorical questions that I ask myself about this situation, and maybe it can be put into a study or some kind of thing that can be answered later on. But I ask myself, can their testing be limited to not more than 10 o'clock in the evening? Because they typically start up about 10 and then run. If they only run for a few hours, they typically start about 10 and run to the wee mornings of the hour. And I can't tell you how many times between 10 and 2 I've been out in the backyard measuring the decimeters out there, because it just sounds like a jet airport, and I'm in back of the jet. And it doesn't go away. It doesn't take off. It's continuous. Okay, that's one of the questions I ask myself. And then they talk about, we got some rhetoric back from Greg in a letter from Mr. Morales. And, you know, to me it's just rhetoric. But if they want to put their real faith into what they're doing, my question is, will they ensure the noise will be abated enough that it does not cause a decibel meter to record a 20 to 30 point swing? And that's the difference. When that thing is running, my decimeter goes up by 20 to 30 points between the normal conditions and when it's running. I think that's excessive. I am a lifetime resident of Gainesville. I moved to Turkey Creek in 2007 because of the peace and quiet out there, and I wanted to kind of step down a little bit. And of course, then they closed the golf course. And now this is in my backyard haunting me. And a lot of other folks. There's 1,250 homes out there. I know that it's in the city of Alachua, and you all represent the city of Gainesville and GRU. So, you know, I'm looking at y'all as the power board that controls GRU. My next question was, you know, I've been down here many times in the past. I was a realtor and a builder and developer for 40 years, an appraiser. And we used to do things the old-fashioned way, and I know the staff today probably doesn't know even know what a cost-benefit ratio analysis is. But I suspect if one had been done on this situation with GREC or anything else, we wouldn't even be having this conversation tonight. And because that would determine who and how, and it benefits us and the people that GREC and GRU serves. I just wondered that. And then my last question is, having been an appraiser for 40 years and a graduate of the University of Florida and some knowledge in this area, how are citizens affected by this nuisance and loss in home values due to the economic obsolescence it brings with it to be compensated for their losses? We are going to have a loss in home values as well as a loss in sleep if this continues. And this amounts to, I used to do condemnation work, this amounts to condemnation without compensation. I appreciate y'all listening. I'm very tired, and I apologize for that. But anything y'all can address along those lines would be appreciated. Thank you for your time.
Commissioner Petty, do you want to address this real quick?
Yeah, I intuited from Mr. Paisano's comments that he saw the same response from Mr. Morales that we got, which indicated they were going to hire an independent engineering firm to try to identify the
Please, no comments in the galleries or the hello, Ms. Martinez. You'll please while we're okay.
They hired an independent engineering firm to try to identify the nature of the noise and alleviate that. I know that all of us on this dais are paying very close attention to that and want to see it alleviated. I also want to just point out that the city of Gainesville does have a noise ordinance that needs to be adhered to, and so we have some enforcement capabilities, you know, when it comes to that. So we'll be looking for a remedy to the situation out there very quickly, and you know, I encourage you to keep us posted. I know we get emails that say no noise last night, it was a relief, and then we get emails say, oh, the noise is back. And so it's helpful for us and for our staff to understand when it's happening and whether it's improving as we try to make sure we alleviate that. And I just have one other quick question. You don't have a son named David by chance, do you? Will you please tell him I said hello? We went to high school together and we were in the band together. I haven't talked to him in a long time. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. General Manager, have you had any communication regarding the noise issue also? And by the way, I think there's probably some other people in the audience who want to speak to the noise issue in particular. Okay. And I would ask, why don't we take that all back to back and get that piece done, and then we'll move on. So, Mr. General Manager, did you have anything in addition, Commissioner Poe?
Mr. Mayor, not really. We've been ensuring that any email that comes in gets forwarded to local GREC representatives. Right. So, as I think you heard Commissioner Poe say, GREC is putting some level of effort into this, and I think they're certainly concerned about that issue.
Yeah.
So, I think they are engaged in that. Other than that, we haven't been involved.
Yeah, and it says in the letter it might take up to 2 weeks, so that's not, I guess my question, I don't know if anyone knows this, is why do they need to conduct these tests late at night as opposed to during general operating hours? Most people work between 9 and 5, and I don't know if anyone has an answer to that.
I see Mr. Stanton in the back. He's got probably 40 years of operating experience, so I'm sure he could lend some,
okay, let's
at
get
least some background on that.
resume.
Pardon me. John Stanton, energy supplier for GRU. In referring to the testing, what they're doing now is not doing short duration tests. What they're doing is generating test power. And on a brand new plant, when you do that, when you first come on, which again was like 4 weeks ago now, you would be on for a short period of time, short amount of output, come back, do some adjustments, testing, and bring it up. They have been up to full load. Their intention is to be running round the clock. That is what they, of course, the intention is to run round the clock for the next 30 years. And at this point, they were up a couple of days. They're off right now, working on a component that had sprung a small leak. So they're having their teething problems, but the expectation is come back up, and the next event on their schedule is to do a test, a 21-day continuous run test at full load during the daytime, 100 megawatts, and then 70 megawatts at night. Shouldn't be any difference between the sound of those two different levels. But it's not an hour test here, an hour test here that you could schedule day or night. It's test energy being generated around the clock.
Okay, thank you. All right, back to citizen comment. And again, this is a period open for anything not on the agenda, but we do ask if you were speaking about the noise issue or that, now's the time.
Okay, first of all, my name is Larry Nogle. I'm a resident of Turkey Creek. I'd just like to find out how many people are here from Turkey Creek or represent Turkey Creek.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, just
Quite a bit.
a lot of them aren't going to speak, so they just asked me, said, hey, we'd like to be recognized.
We appreciate that.
So, in 2007, my wife Helen Ann and I purchased a residence in Turkey Creek, within the city limits of Alachua, by the way. We had good friends that lived there, and they encouraged us to come and enjoy the serenity and quiet of Turkey Creek. It was so quiet and peaceful that we encouraged friends to come and move 2 doors down from us. Yes, life was good in the Good Life community of Alachua, especially in the fall when the town turns into a decorated for the harvest and the seasonal celebrations, which are enjoyed by all. Yes, we love the small town atmosphere and the quiet serenity of Turkey Creek. Helen Ann, my wife, a former purchasing agent for a chemical company, until forced to retirement by multiple sclerosis, which left her unable to walk without a walker. I was the vice president of a natural gas company, and also I owned a real estate appraisal company. On December of 2009, I fully retired and closed my appraisal business due to the economy. With both of us being retired, we have both stayed active in civic work and church work, Helen Ann, despite having to walk with a walker, she sometimes has to have a wheelchair, but she has been an active volunteer in both our church and her civic clubs. In February of this year, my wife was diagnosed with throat cancer.
Sorry to hear.
At this time, she had undergone surgery to have it removed, and at this time she is undergoing radiation and chemo treatments. Even to today, she had them. She needs her rest in order to combat this disease. In 2009, we were alerted as citizens of Turkey Creek that a wood-burning biomass plant was proposed for the GRU Deerhaven property, which is less than a quarter of a mile from our property at Turkey Creek. Renewable Energy Center, it is now called GREC, held an informational meeting at Turkey Creek Country Club. We were told at this meeting that GREC, that their emissions would not have noise, nor their emissions would be a problem, and that it was a state-of-the-art in technology, and this would either surpass or meet all standards set forth. In fact, we were told that we would not even notice that they were there. Woo! One resident who was in the audience told the GREC panel that she had moved here from another state. And this was the same thing that a biomass plant had told them. She expressed her opinion, of which she said what we were told was completely untrue, and it was the same thing that she just heard. At that point, the panel reassured us as the people of Turkey Creek and the people of Hague and surrounding areas, there were other people there, that this was state-of-the-art technology. Ooh, that rings in my ears. And we would not have problems with emissions or noise. And from my memory, no one besides the people from GREC actually said anything in favor of the biomass plant, and most everyone spoke against it. The other residents were more opposed to the emissions, and I fully support their fears, but I am not as informed as others about the emissions, but I do know noise. I know it very well. Sometimes in mid-August of this year, we were awakened by a loud noise that sounded as if jet engines were taking off just outside our bedroom window, probably 50 feet from our bedroom window, if you really want to know the truth. This noise persisted after midnight, and I called the Alachua police. We live in the city limits of Alachua. That's what I would be expected to do. Around 1:30 to complain. The city dispatch asked where the noise was coming from. I replied, I think it's coming from Deerhaven Power Plant. They informed me that that was in the city of Gainesville, and they transferred me to the dispatch center for all complaints. Evidently, I'm just a layman. I'm not a politico or anything. Just a little old guy in Turkey Creek. The dispatcher said she would send a deputy, and then he would call me back. Well, when he called back, he was a very nice policeman from GPD. He had spoken with the GRU night manager, and he said that he would call me. Well, the GRU night manager called and said the noise was coming from their property, but it was GREC, and they had no control, and he stressed no control over any of GREC's operations. Here we go. I sort of felt like I was getting a runaround, but not really. The next morning, the plant manager of Deerhaven called and said that Mr. Steve Marsh, don't know him, hadn't called me yet, of GREC would call me. Later, an associate, Miss Karen Hyler, Hyler, called and said they were conducting tests and that these concerns were being addressed. After an investigation of GREC to the noise in Turkey Creek, they agreed that we indeed did have a problem, that it was unacceptable. She then said that they were taking measures to take care of this. After 4 weeks of sleepless nights and having to move from our bedroom into another bedroom in our house and unable to use our outdoor patio facilities, we have had enough. The real estate values in Turkey Creek will plummet if this plant is issued an occupational permit and allowed to be put in operation. We at Turkey Creek loved what we had in a quiet, serene neighborhood. If you allow the current conditions to continue, I would not even buy my own home in which a month ago I used to love. When my property and my neighbor's property values drop due to the Grec plant, then every residence in Turkey Creek will be up in arms. And the Grec people will be back in Boston counting their sucker money. This will leave the people of Alachua County, not just the people of the city of Gainesville or the city of Alachua, but all of Alachua County, with Grec's noisy, dirty, and massive and air, and a massive class action lawsuit. I, for one, do not buy into Grec's lies. They have lied to us, and I'm sure I'm not drinking their Kool-Aid. I hope you will see as well the same position. Thank you, and God bless you. And sleepless in Alachua, Larry Nogle.
Thank you. And I understand you were speaking for others from the Turkey Creek.
Yes, I was.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next member of the public wishes to speak. And let me also say this for General Manager, since I know there is communication, we have a Grec. In addition to the noise, it sounds like there is, someone said, we will contact you, and then they don't. So I think if you could make mention of that too, that there needs to be follow-up when they say they're going to follow up. All right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, and other distinguished members on the dais, my name is Robert Wilford, and I live in Turkey Creek. I do have to give a disclaimer. I'm a Alachua City Commissioner, and I'm not speaking anyway representing the City Commission tonight. My comments is strictly being based as a resident of Turkey Creek.
I recognized you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I sat in your workshop down at the Florida League of Cities, matter of fact.
That's what I
Yes, I saw
did see.
several of the commissioners down there. First of all, I appreciate you being public servants. It's not always the greatest job in the world.
I got you.
And I do watch your meetings. I even was talking to Commissioner Hawkins up at the North Central Florida Regional Planning Council meeting up in Lake City a couple months ago that I didn't watch y'all till 1:30 in the morning. My wife
goodness.
thinks I'm nuts, but I do watch it because I like to learn and watch what's going on. I also watch the county commission meetings to try to stay informed. But I want to go back to the meeting he talked about, and my concern is I stood up at that meeting. That's prior to me being a city official, by the way, and I just talked to the Grec representatives made the presentation. GRU was there also, but the first speaker stand up and says, one of the problems you have is it says down south we don't trust carpetbaggers. Well, I always got a long memory, and the bottom line was that as you come in and we have no control over it because we're Turkey Creek, and you had City of Hague was there, and you had Staghorn, and you had Brook Point. All those subdivisions are all there. So I says, no, where you can allay our fears is you can become good neighbors. And by good neighbors is to be open in your communication and not us find things out after the fact. So one of the concerns I have is after that meeting, I did talk with 3 representatives from Grec at that time for about 15 minutes and explained to them and says, if you're going to be doing things out there that we should know about, we should not find out after the fact or after it's already happened. I said communication, a flyer, a notice or something, what's going on, there's going to be certain things, because they assured us there would not be any noise level. We would not even know they were there. Now, if this is a testing problem, then we need to know that. And Grec has a responsibility as the people out there. Now, again, we're not in your city, but they have a responsibility to say, this is only a testing problem and it will be alleviated. If they cannot say that, then they have lied. They have lied to the city of Gainesville. They have lied to us, and it's in our back door, and most of your subdivisions are not close to the area. So if it is going to be an ongoing problem, and it's going to be run around the clock, 24 hours between 70 megawatts and 100 megawatts, then somebody needs to call them to task on that. I don't know what we can do about it, but if it is a testing problem, then they should be big enough to say it's a testing problem, and we will address it, and will not be a round-the-clock problem. And I think, other people have talked about the decibel levels themselves. My wife and I sleep with a noisemaker because I travel a lot, and when I go in the hotel room, I got this constant noise, so I get used to that. Well, I turned it off the other night, and yeah, you can hear it. You can hear it quite well. So, and I live in the Creekside Villa area, which is the first subdivision within Turkey Creek. Also, the truck issues that I brought up as a major issue because I've been concerned about. I've advocated for a traffic light at our subdivision with DOT for a number of years, and they say there's not enough traffic there, and the trucks would not cause any undue hardship. But the trucks, I've only seen it once, but there's stuff flying out back of the trucks. They assured us that would not be the problem, though. There'd be nothing on the highways and nothing whatsoever going out there. So it is happening, and when those trucks get up to full occupation and using it, it's going to be quite a bit more. So I just think somehow, and I'm going to write Greg my own personal letter, but they should not go back on their word that they would keep us posted and they would be good neighbors. And I says, if you're good neighbors, we won't look at you as carpetbaggers. I said, because I was raised in the South, and the South's got a long memory about what happened, whether it was right, wrong, or otherwise, when people come in and take advantage of you, and that's how we felt. But we gave them the benefit of the doubt, and nobody did stand up in support of the biomass plant of 300-something people. So I appreciate it, and I thank you for your service, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I can tell you, this mayor will not be chairing meetings till 1 o'clock in the morning. Haven't done one yet, won't do one yet. All right, next speaker, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I start, may I please have the overhead?
All right, please provide the overhead.
And if we could zoom in, please. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Nathan Scott, I just want to speak to some of the issues out in the Turkey Creek area with respect to the noise, the dust, and the smell. And again, I was skeptical at first, but took a ride out. This is a photo taken of a windshield of a vehicle at Alachua County Public Works yesterday. That debris is not pollen, it's wood residue. Second picture, actually if we can zoom in a little bit more, you can see these chunks on the window. And it's very analogous to potting soil, the peat moss in dried out peat moss and potting soil. And it's apparently blowing off the wood stacks. And here's another picture of the cars. So again, the employees, and I did speak to a couple employees out there, as well as Chris Bird at the county. They're aware of the issues. They have concerns for the employees on OSHA issues, hearing, and the dust issues. So one of the things that I observed out there, in addition to this dust, was the noise. And it sounds like a screaming jet engine. Now, I don't know, I've been around a lot of turbines, I've been around airplanes from Boeing, been around nuclear submarines, seen a lot of things, heard a lot of things. Don't have access to the plant, but definitely it's a very high-pitched noise from several different sources. Some aspects, it sounds like a roaring jet engine at the end of the runway. Other times, it sounds like a hovering helicopter when they're bringing it down power levels, and then you get the conveyor belt squeals that you're hearing. So, and then there's the offensive odor that employees at the Public Works Department have decried as smell of wet, dampy, musty vegetation. So again, I want to speak in support of some of the things that the Turkey Creek residents are hearing. Certainly, I heard it with my own ears. I was out there previously one night, and you could hear the plant, but it wasn't at full power. But what they were doing yesterday throughout the day sounds like being at the end of the runway. And in addition to that, I just want to conclude with, I know that the prior gentleman that spoke referenced the trucks. It's a video that I showed earlier. We didn't have sound, so I'm going to give my best to put the microphone, since my iPad does have sound. But this is a truck that had just emptied its load pulling out of the GREC facility. Again, when they empty these trucks, they turn them vertically. It's approximately 90 degrees, which can't be good for the truck, its engine, or what have you. But when it gets back on the road, there's still wood debris. And I'm going to hit play, and we're going to see the wood chips. What you'll see is you'll hear plunks. That's wood chips hitting the car at about 7 car lengths, and then you can see the wood chips if we're lucky. So here we go. So that's some of the other ancillary hazards to pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, and people driving their cars. You can just imagine when there's hundreds of trucks on the roads delivering each day, what you might see falling off there. So I would encourage the City Commission and or GRU staff to talk to GREC to take some more aggressive measures in terms of when these trucks, before they pull out or when they go back from being vertical down to horizontal, maybe they can blow them off with compressed air or something like that to ensure that we're not going to have road debris. But certainly these flying chips are an issue, and certainly that could have been avoided had they brought in fuel by rail, which probably would have been more prudent for our state of repair of our roads. But I just wanted to, again, echo the fact that there does seem to be legitimate noise concerns. It is the startup of the plant. Hopefully they can work those bugs out. But in the grand scheme of things, if there are inherent problems, whether it be dust collectors and when you're at high power trying to, whatever noise they're making or whatever else is causing this offensive high-pitched jet engine noise, that might be an issue, and it may result ultimately in people like the Homeowners Association filing a public nuisance suit, which could seek an injunction to curtail the operation of the plant during working hours and not at night so people can get peaceful sleep. So I think they have a legitimate concern. I've heard it with my own ears, and certainly county employees have legitimate concern, and I'll close with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Henson-Rawls, you'd hit your light?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We do have a noise ordinance, and maybe we've given Greg sufficient, I'm sorry?
No, that's a good point. I was just listening.
Maybe we've given Greg sufficient time to do corrective measures, at which time we might need to start issuing citations for code enforcement violations.
And you mentioned code enforcement, that's on the general government side, so that would be something we could look to the city manager to provide guidance with. They say they're going to have something done in approximately 2 weeks, and I guess if things aren't done by then, we would ask the city manager to look into it. But it's been 4, okay.
It's been 4 weeks already. I have to empathize with them because I have sleep problems myself. I mean, I don't think I could sleep with that going on, and
I agree.
Mike McKitchen, Mr. Mayor, 2 weeks is too long. 1 hour is enough. What I wanted to mention here tonight on this was that I'm a little bit tired of hearing GRU justify them, Greg, or defend them. I think they're capable of defending their own selves, and I don't think that I need to pay my utility rates to GRU to have them to defend Greg. I wish that you would direct GRU to quit defending them and let them defend themselves for their obnoxious noise and other features of that plant.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of the public? This is a good time for public comment.
Yes, my name is Peter Perkins. I thank you for responding to my letter, Mr. Mayor. I thank the directors. I'm here tonight. I live more than a mile from the new biomass plant, and at night, and I have hearing losses, my wife woke me up, and we stepped on the back patio, and the noise is incredible. It is sleep disrupting, and I live more than a mile away. My wife and I moved to Gainesville about 34 years ago, and we lived happily in Gainesville, enjoyed it, and we're both retired military. She did 20 years, I did 25. We, being retired, moved to Turkey Creek about 9 years ago because of the quiet environment. More than that, we were able to select a house lot that was very near San Velasco Hammock. And so we had nature close by. It wasn't going to change. A quiet neighborhood, a nice golf course that isn't operating right now. And things were in good shape. We raised 2 young boys, brought them to Gainesville and had excellent education in Gainesville while we were here. We now find that we're in our retirement home, built purposely with wide doorways that would allow for wheelchairs, should we ever need one, all on one level. And yet, we may be faced with having to sell our home, and at a great loss, to be able to get some peace and quiet and be able to sleep at night. I've traveled all over the world. My wife and I have been assigned in Africa. I've been to most of the Central American countries. I was in Vietnam. I know what noise is, and I know what quiet is. We can't live the way we're being asked to live in Turkey Creek. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your service.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. My name is Marty Meisner. I am a property owner in Turkey Creek. I'd like to speak to the biomass issue there.
Sure.
I'm also on the board of directors for Turkey Creek Homeowners Association. At our meeting last night, we had a full house. So the representatives that you see here are only a small percentage of that. I think you've heard about the noise issues, the particulates, and the traffic already. I hope that that's not something that needs to be further talked about. I want to be brief. I operate under with the code basically that if you would like things done to you, do unto others the same way. My question to you is, of course, rhetorical. Would you like this in your neighborhood or nearby?
Right. Not a chance.
With all due respect to my fellow neighbor, Mr. Wilford here, I don't trust them. I don't want to give Greg an out that says, tell us this is just for testing. No, I don't open that door. They tell us it's just for testing, it pushes it a little further down the road, and once it's opened, it's never going to be closed. So I wouldn't offer that to them at all. I implore you not to open or to allow this plant to open. If you decide and you think that that is a good thing, please call me. I'm in sales. I have a golf course I'd like to talk to you about.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Oh.
See what Turkey Creek?
Mr. Mayor, my name is Harold Save. I'm here to follow up some of the comments that were made by Mr. Scott on the traffic. We were traveling southbound on 441 and ran into left lane closing at 10001 to Deerhaven. And we couldn't figure out why, but it was only after we passed the bottleneck that we realized that signs had been put out preemptively to keep traffic from running into the back of the trucks that were lined up to turn left in the southbound lane. I didn't see one Department of Transportation truck with the yellow light. These they appeared to be local lane closing signs that provided a hazardous condition on southbound 441. And I don't know how often this happens, but I'm going to be checking every time I go down there. Next time I'll have the camera on the dash.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Next speaker. This lady, well, she was.
Okay.
We need your name for the record, and I apologize for that bit of impatience shown, and we welcome you and want to hear what you have to say.
Good evening. My name is Jane Hendricks. I'm a resident of Turkey Creek. I've lived there 8 years. I bought out there not for golf, but for the green space and the peace and quiet. I have been hearing the noise off and on for the last month, but it's become more intense this week. All day on the 17th, all day and all night on the 17th, all day and all night on the 18th. I heard it as late as 12:45 this morning. I woke up again at 5:15 this morning and heard it. I drove over there at 5:30 this morning. I live about a mile and a quarter from the entrance to Grec. I drove up to the guard gate. I talked to a worker or two. I've been advised that it's operational 24/7. And then later on this morning, I called the Gainesville police to register a noise complaint. They said that I should have called at the time that it occurred. They said that they don't have any real ability to deal with these issues, that they're used to dealing with barking dogs and loud parties. They don't have sound meters, and they don't know what to do. So there needs to be some training with the Gainesville Police Department, because you've said you have a noise ordinance, but they're very reluctant to enforce it. So, and again, the property values are going to go down, and I implore you not to let this plant open. You've got to shut it down. There are better resources and better uses, alternate resources of energy. And thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Any other speakers?
And I yield my time to any other people from Turkey Creek.
Debbie Martinez. I want to give an apology to our guests here from Alachua that have not had sleep, and they have come here to speak. And I want to apologize for former Commissioner Jack Donovan, who should know better, to jump up in front of them after they have come all the way down here. That does nothing to promote the cause that all of us support, the issue of the homeless. And I am so sorry that that happened. They are guests in our home, and for us to do that, we should all be embarrassed. Thank you.
For your comment. Next speaker.
Mr. Mayor. Wilbur Holloway, Angry Peasant. Just want to point out, I'm a mountain biker. I ride up at San Francisco all the time. It is one of the best mountain bike areas in the state of Florida. We have people come here from Jacksonville regularly. I'm on their listserv on Facebook, and I'm always getting notices that they're coming to town. People come up from Orlando, Tampa, all that kind of stuff. After seeing the video that Mr. Scott showed and some of the pictures with the particulate matter, I'm not too excited about riding out there if I'm going to be sucking that into my lungs. I would also like to point out that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change just revised all of their numbers and basically said they'd been operating from bad data, which this biomass plant has basically staked its claim on, and the future financial and fiscal health of the city of Gainesville has staked its future on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sure.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Sims. I'm from Turkey Creek, a resident up in Creekside Villas in the very front. And I just been working with Karen Heiler at GREC with emails and letting her know when things are a problem or when I don't hear a sound. But I'm a little bit hesitant to have them monitor what the decibel levels are. And so I was going to ask the commissioners if there's something we can do, have someone come out independently of GREC to measure the decibel levels, especially from those of us and in the locations where we're actually lodging a complaint. And that's what it is. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Paula Stamer. I have had the privilege of speaking with some of the residents of Turkey Creek, and I've heard their complaints. These people are not, hysterical or excitable. They're very credible. It was clear that the concerns were pervasive at Turkey Creek. We need to take them very seriously. I don't think anyone in approving the GREC project imagined that people would be subjected to the kinds of noise and apparently a great deal of ash, debris in the air that's been inflicted upon them. Hopefully it's temporary. From what I have been told and researched about facilities of this sort, there shouldn't be a need for this kind of constant noise. And so there is a concern about the ability to not simply diminish it, but guarantee that people aren't going to be inflicted with this even for an hour a day. It's too much. It seems to be so intense. One of my concerns is that, as I recall the contract that we have with GREC, the city and GRU don't have a whole lot of options in terms of being able to intercede and insist on oversight and auditing of the way the place was built, the quality of the equipment, the construction, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a real problem, not simply with what people in Turkey Creek and perhaps elsewhere are experiencing, but also a problem in our relationship with GREC in ensuring that this problem is resolved and avoided completely. There shouldn't be any such level of noise. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other speakers? And I believe, have you already spoken, sir?
I did briefly. I didn't use my time. I wanted to say that you have a small piece of Gainesville right across from our entrance. It's a
We could do a measurement
trailer
there.
park.
We could do a measurement.
It's a trailer park, and I can't imagine what those people
Right.
in those single wides must be living with, but it is Gainesville property.
Okay. All right, thank you.